T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Of course,
it's Ella, J. It's Ella, J. Ella, J. It's Ella J.
You can thank Miss TK Trinidad for that, trying to cut me off here at the beginning. And everybody else is laughing backstage right now. And I know that TK is laughing to herself too. I did not know they were going to do it. But you know, we roll with everything in show business. We are here for WWT Live, the Wednesday edition, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Of course, I am not alone here today. Of course, I am joined by the queen herself. Queen PR.
Hi.
That intro threw me off. That's not usually how we do it. TK likes to throw us for a loop sometimes.
I so appreciated that. That was so good, especially coming off Super Bowl Sunday. So I was definitely singing along.
But of course, we are here also joined by Mr. Professor Gerard. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, ladies?
I'm doing good. We were saying off air, we're tired, but we're good. But that certainly woke me up. Kane's voice. I know. If Nikki's here, she's probably like, "Oh gosh, I got to hear his voice again." But you know, I must say, I'm warming up to my theme song, my unofficial theme song. I guess I still haven't been sent the file for it.
No,
but no, I still have not.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, it's not done. Apparently, that's just kind of the rough copy of it right now. I was told
it's got to get mixed and mastered and stuff. I get it. I get it. Well, let me publicly throw some flowers at the feet of both of you ladies. Again, you both, for those who don't know, were involved in that amazing, historic Royal Rumble media scrum. No chairs were thrown, no cupcakes were eaten, but you guys held WWE mics. You asked questions to some of the biggest names in our business, and you're part of what we do. So I honor you guys and salute you guys. It's an honor to be with you guys.
Thank you. We did not pay him to say that, by the way.
We did
No,
not.
they did not.
We really appreciate it. And I think the most rewarding thing was being able to see a familiar face like Ella there, because we've all kind of come up together, so it's like to evolve and then see how far we've all come as women. It was a beautiful thing.
And hopefully, I think this was your first one. Krista was at War Games Survivor Series, so I think this was your first.
I was there, but I didn't get to ask a question.
Got it. So technically your second, but technically your first time. Hopefully not the last. We still, some things are coming up, so hopefully not the first, but maybe hopefully not the last. JD, thank you for being here. You hope Kane is receiving royalties for releasing his nickname out to Hit Row. Oh my gosh. Kane is off doing Kane things. We hope to have him back soon. But yeah, he's definitely one that is always a part of the Women's Wrestling Talk family. Wrestling Realm, thanks for being here today. Santana. Yes, the
Hi,
queen is in the
Santana.
house today.
Love you.
We got a good group going on here. What's up, guys?
Absolutely.
It's been a day in wrestling, because the heavy news obviously of Jerry Jarrett passing, but then it's also like it's WrestleMania season, and everything I feel like is firing on all cylinders. So I'm the most invested I've been in a long time.
Yeah, it's been, lead up to WrestleMania. We still have Chamber this weekend along with Battle in the Valley. So it's going to be an exciting weekend. And I mean, we'll talk briefly about Chamber because it's obviously coming up. This is the first time in a while, at least for me, this doesn't feel like a filler pay-per-view. There's actually stories going into it. And this is also like WrestleMania implications because, again, whoever wins like the women's Chamber match is going on to face Bianca Belair. So it's a good combination of storytelling plus a lot of Mania implications. It doesn't feel like a filler.
Agreed. I'm very excited for both Chamber matches for once.
Yeah.
So am I. But obviously you mentioned it's been a week's worth of news and it's only Wednesday. I feel like we'll start with the heavier stuff. We have a lot of more positive stuff, but of course, one of the big news that rocked us yesterday was the passing of Jerry Jarrett, who was really instrumental in basically launching Memphis wrestling in the 70s and 80s. He unfortunately passed away at the age of 80. Of course, he's the father of Jeff Jarrett, who will be wrestling tonight on AEW Dynamite's likely in honor of his father. So, Gerard, I mean, what are your thoughts on everything going on?
When you start talking about legends in our business and people who have made massive influence, unfortunately, the name Jerry Jarrett is not mentioned nearly as often as it should be. Think about what he did. Creating the Memphis territory, the CWA territory, which really introduced the world to Jerry the King Lawler. It really gave us Monday Night Wrestling before we had Monday Night Raw. They would literally fill the Mid-South Coliseum with 10,000 people every single week. It was one of the first places that we got to see crossover in terms of mainstream appeal with that war that Jerry Lawler was involved with, which was kind of a game changer. And it was crazy, to say the least. So you got that going on. And then the CWA was involved in connecting with World Class, and they formed the USWA, which is a very influential promotion. We didn't talk about this here, but that introduced us, believe it or not, to people like Jacqueline and a lot of other people who have become major names. We saw The Undertaker make his debut in that USWA Memphis World Class like territory. So a lot of things happened there. So that's two major territories. But then he came back after the Monday Night Wars were seemingly over, and he and his son Jeff put together an organization called NWA TNA, which we now know as Impact Wrestling. And they had the wild idea that until we can get television deals, we'll do weekly pay-per-views for $9.99. And it blazed, and it gave us some incredible action. And they were majority owners until they sold that, of course, to Dixie Carter. But think about that. That's three major territories without which some of the biggest names in our business would not have seen the light of day. I mean, think about this. From Memphis, you've got Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and The Undertaker and Kane, who was a part of that as well. And then, in the World Class piece, you have Jacqueline and several others. And then when you start talking about what TNA has given us, AJ Styles and so many others coming out of that, imagine a world without Impact Wrestling, which right now, many argue has one of the top women's divisions. They've led the women's revolution, in my opinion. So the contributions to Jeff from Jerry Jarrett, and then of course he did give us JEFF.
Yes.
That would be double J, Jeff Jarrett. So he's the gift that keeps on giving, because somehow 30 plus years in the business, you mentioned he's wrestling tonight in his 50s, like 55, 56 years old, and he looks better than ever.
He really does.
The contributions of a Jerry Jarrett are so very important. And I really do hope that, we get to continue to talk about these people who have made such a huge difference in the world of pro wrestling. So long live the memory of Jerry Jarrett.
Yeah. And when you're in the business that long, the son of a promoter, there's contributions. We don't even realize the impact that he's had. And
Absolutely.
wrestling is one of those it's a family business. And then it's one of those where the people in it are kind of responsible for the future of it. And without his contributions, who knows where we would be. And then, of course, talking about the women's division of TNA, it really paved the way for a lot of things. And I'm a big Jeff Jarrett fan, and I love to know that Jerry Jarrett's mother was, the promoter of the family. And just as someone who loves women in wrestling, I'm just like, that's the coolest fucking thing in the world. So, his legacy is, we can have a whole show on his legacy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I know Stone Cold, a lot of people obviously were showing their respects to them. Stone Cold Steve Austin was talking about, the groundwork that Jerry Jarrett laid out for a lot of people for decades to come. And obviously we mentioned there would be no Impact Wrestling without Jerry and Jeff Jarrett co-founding it in the early 2000s. It was called NW. It was mixed in a lot with NWA and obviously went through a couple of name evolutions, but there would be no Impact Wrestling without those two. And now tonight, Jeff Jarrett kind of pleaded with Tony Khan, let me wrestle. And Tony Khan obviously is allowing him to wrestle tonight. I don't know if has it been announced who he's facing? I don't know.
I'm not sure yet. I'll double check.
I don't recall, but I know that Tony Khan was on Busted Open this morning kind of talking about it. And then I know Jeff shared a long Twitter post today too. So obviously our condolences go out to Jerry Jarrett, but there was a lot of people showing their respects. I remember Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, James Storm, a lot of obviously, former, if not current Impact people, but a lot of legends as well too. Yes, Jeff Jarrett also gave us two of Beetlejuice's greatest moments.
What? Oh, that's true.
This is the beauty of Jerry and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
They have so many years of contributions that, like you said, Queen, we literally could do a whole show. And then there are the things that we have probably missed that they have been involved in as well. I mean, it's incredible to think that Jeff Jarrett actually brought the old NWA championship belt onto WWE TV when he was part of Smoky Mountain Wrestling and that whole deal that they had. And it was just like, we're seeing in 95 things that, preceded the Forbidden Door and all of that type of stuff. So it's pretty crazy when you start itemizing all that Jerry Jarrett has given to this business. And so certainly, yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with that family.
This is interesting. Orange Cassidy is aside the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn here.
That's going to be hilarious.
It's interesting.
But
yeah, I mean, it's a kind of not that Jeff isn't capable of it. Obviously he is, but it's kind of a safer environment where he doesn't have to take, as many bumps and all of that. Right. And I mean, he's familiar with Billy Gunn in there. Obviously, those two have history with each other too. So that's going to be on Dynamite tonight. I know as well. I mean, there's a bunch, that was obviously the sad news, but we'll talk about AEW, Ring of Honor, Tony Khan. Finally, as I said earlier, everybody, it's about damn time.
Cue Lizzo.
Gerard, this one is yours because you've been talking about it's not a cable. We don't have a cable deal yet, but Gerard, it's a step that you've been pleading for forever.
Last time I was on here, he was pleading for that.
I have been, I probably talked about AR Khan as much as I've talked about Ric Flair on this show. And one of my biggest pleas has been, can we please get some television for Ring of Honor? Well, ironically, we are almost a year to the day of the purchasing of Ring of Honor by Tony Khan. And today on Busted Open, it was announced that we are finally getting a Ring of Honor television show. The first set of tapings are going to take place in Orlando, February the 25th and the 26th. This is really happening, folks. And I believe the first show is going to air top of March, from what I saw. Yeah. So this is really happening. No, it's really happening. This is not our imagination. It's not one day in the suite by and by. It's none of those things. We're actually getting this, and I'm very excited for a lot of reasons. For one, if you think about it, for the last almost year, Ring of Honor champions have had to share space with AEW champions on an already crowded Dynamite and Rampage. When we started seeing the world title from Ring of Honor defended on Dark, like that was just nutty and crazy to me. And we've had 3 full pay-per-views from Ring of Honor without any sort of TV deal or anything like that. So this is really an exciting time, and I am glad that all of the talk and all of the conjecture has actually led to real TV tapings and some place where this will actually air. So we'll get to hear the great commentary of Ian Riccaboni and my good brother Caprice Coleman. Like, we'll get to see Ring of Honor folks actually fight other Ring of Honor folks with Ring of Honor things that are specific to their brand. This is necessary. I'm really glad this is happening. I'm not even going to fight about where it airs. I mean, at the very least, if there is still the Ring of Honor streaming platform,
I believe that it is airing on Honor Club. I would assume
I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that.
It's
a
step
just needs a place.
Yes, it's
Totally.
a step to maybe it's a kind of a launching pad, if they get successful with Honor Club. It took a while for them to relaunch Honor Club and all of that.
Yes.
So this is a step in Gerard's direction that he wants.
Yes.
I find it interesting, though. So it's going to be airing, obviously, the first kind of round of tapings is going to be airing Thursday, March 2nd at 10 p.m. So right after you turn off Impact, go to Honor Club at 10 p.m. And then that's apparently when they're going to be airing. Again, I don't know how frequent these tapings are going to be, but it is a good lead in to Supercard of Honor. Obviously, you have the lines are a little bit blurred because you have people like a Samoa Joe who has an AEW and a Ring of Honor title. You have Claudio and obviously Wheeler Yuta, who are part of the BCC, who are very prevalent in AEW. But it's going to be good finally for the people who are strictly Ring of Honor, like a Shane Taylor. I would hope, the Righteous, Josh Woods, that we see the people who are strictly Ring of Honor. I mean, Athena, she's obviously AEW too, but Athena maybe get some actually space to build the women's division in Ring of Honor. So it's going to be a good space for the people who are strictly Ring of Honor contract to finally have a place for themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. It's going to be leading in, obviously, Supercard of Honor is March 31st. Again, I don't know how frequent these tapings are going to be or how many episodes. I would assume they would probably film about at least 4 weeks worth since they're filming the 25th and 26th.
Yeah.
So I would think that they're filming straight through Supercard of Honor, which might lend itself, though, to some spoilers. So
that's almost a guarantee that there will be a spoiler or so.
So we'll see what happens, but exciting news for Ring of Honor and per the direction of TK Trinidad. I know Gerard is super happy about that.
I just am. I just think, having an entire brand in virtual purgatory is no fair at all. And so if you're going to buy the brand, if you're going to buy the ring and buy all of the things, then give it a place to land. And so I'm glad at the very least it's landing on Ring of Honor's Honor Club. And I think we're going to see hopefully some regular tapings. What does help is those who watched Ring of Honor before, there were never really live Ring of Honor weekly shows anyway. So at least if you're doing these tapings, it's at least consistent with what they were getting before Ring of Honor was purchased. So, I don't know that we at this point need to move to a live format yet, but at least this is a start. And then if it leads to some sort of television deal, that would be fantastic.
Now, I know PR has to leave us in a bit, but I wanted to get her thoughts on another company, that being the NWA, because last summer, they introduced this new NWA Women's Television Championship, which is kind of like a mid-card title, kind of like how it feels wrong to say mid-card and Jade Cargill in the same sentence, but it's a secondary championship to the women for the single. It's outside. They have Camille, who's at 620 days now in her reign with no no line of even stopping. They just crowned new women's tag team titles in the Renegade Twins. Again, congratulations to them. I believe we covered that on Monday.
Yes.
But finally, they introduced this new title. They have the men's, the regular television championship, but Medusa first introduced it in the last summer. Allison Kay was like, I want this. I'm interested in this. Last night, they finally announced on NWA Power that they will be holding a tournament to crown the first winner of this NWA Women's Television Championship. The brackets haven't been confirmed yet, but so far we have Taya Valkyrie versus Genocide in the first qualifying matchup for that. That takes place this Saturday. And then the finals will be taking place at their next pay-per-view, which is NWA 312, which is, I think it's 312 or 321, which is
312.
312 for the Chicago area code. So that's going to be taking place April. So they have some time to build up. They're going to be doing some qualifying matches. Again, I don't know. I would assume at least 8 women would be in this bracket, but they've started setting up some qualifying matchups. Yes, April 7th. Thank you, Nikki, in Chicago. Yes. So they have about 7 weeks to build to that, obviously tapings beforehand, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts, PR, because again, I have my thoughts on it, but I know you're huge into women's wrestling, so I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on it. I know a lot of people don't watch the NWA product regularly, so I totally get that. But hopefully I laid it out kind of.
No, you absolutely did. And I'm someone that had like really high hopes for NWA at one point, to where like I was like, planning my life around like watching Power more weekly. And, I'm sure you all have talked about kind of what happened with that and, all the stuff that was supposed to happen with the women. So hearing this, I'm excited, but like, but just the story of like, it was announced months ago and now we're finally, so it just always feels like it's always something like when it comes to, just putting a spotlight on anything that the women do. And for some reason, NWA, it's just like, okay, cool. It would have been nice to, follow the momentum of like the announcement by somebody like Medusa. But I do have high hopes, especially if, the title is kind of being geared towards like one person that has been dominant. You can build a lot of stories around her. So like you said, there's 7 weeks. That's a good amount of time. The other thing I like about it is, moving into Chicago, because it's a great, wrestling town. And, that's not somewhere that NWA usually does a lot of shows. And that could be kind of like the fresh painted coat that it needs, especially like with, this new title. So, you just have to just have high hopes for these things.
I know, I do. I know a lot of people, especially because the NWA women's division there's only a few people that are like regulars there, like Genocide, right. Angelina Love is there, obviously Camille, and then there's some pretty empowered have been there, but it's more recurring characters. There's really only maybe 5 or 6 consistent people. The rest are kind of recurring or sporadic. But for me, as somebody where it looks like Camille there's nobody right now who is even compatible or even a real threat to Camille. It kind of opens up a window of opportunity for them to push somebody without having to take the title off of Camille. Although, Camille's been doing great, honestly, since Empowered. Like, she's really stepped up her game and she's gotten a lot better, a lot more poised. I think people have come to respect her more. With that being said, though, obviously it doesn't look like they're going to be taking the title off of her anytime soon. So it frees up some window of opportunity for more women to have, a chance to spotlight themselves without having to fall to Camille. I was hearing theories that, it looks like maybe that might be geared toward Angelina Love. She's a veteran. She did just lose to Camille, though. So obviously she's going to have to go through the qualifying stages. But your first qualifying matchup is between Taya Valkyrie, La Guerra Loca, and the Bionic Beast Genocide. Personally, I can't imagine only one of them being in this tournament. I've been one, used to watch the NWA product regularly. They should have pulled the plug should have pulled the trigger on Genocide a while ago, but obviously you can't really do that when Camille is champion. So I was hoping that, this might be a segue, but not at the expense of somebody like a Taya Valkyrie. I had so much high hopes that they could have done for Genocide, but they can only pick one or the other. And they're facing each other off in the qualifying matchups, which is
first
my heart. They should both be in it. But with that being said, I mean, they have like Kylan King's been in there a lot. Obviously, Angelina Love, Allison. I mean, I don't know where her status is with NWA. She obviously just came back to Impact. Then again, Taya's working Impact and NWA. But I would be shocked if Allison Kay was not involved in this, considering she was there in the announcements right beside Medusa when it happened. Yes, to La Rosa Negra. She just had that match on the pre-show against Missa Kate. She seems to be doing more with them. She's another one. They've been bringing in some good people, but yeah.
You even just brought up so many women that, like that makes me even more excited, and like booked right, this can really give their women's division like more of an identity.
Yeah.
And then, good matches, more regular. Like, then you could say like NWA, like Camilla's the only one to me that is like, okay, she's NWA, like Taya always feels like an Impact girl to me, but like, I feel like this tournament is a really good opportunity to sort of like build an identity around that and like just keep some of the, momentum that NWA women's division had at one point. And I'm not saying there's not talented women, but it just, that thread that like gets us emotionally invested. I feel like this tournament can really build that.
Yeah, they've been bringing in, with the losses of obviously like a Chelsea Green, Kylie Ray. Melina hasn't been around for a while. Sky Blue is now with AEW. Mickie James hasn't been around in about a year. Taryn Terrell retired. They've been bringing in a lot of more women in recent months. Obviously, the Renegade Twins made their debuts back in December. Obviously, they're tag champs now. Missa Kate's been a recurring. Maddie Rinkowski's been there. Samantha Starr. Man, this first round matchup is just throwing me because both of those should honestly be in the tournament. But I digress. Gerard, I'm so sorry. I've been talking so much.
Oh, no. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. I have a couple of things. The first thing is I really would like for someone perhaps from the 21st century to be involved in NWA's marketing department. The names of these pay-per-views, Nuff Said, 312. Is that the best we can do, people?
Oh, like, God.
Come on. Are you serious? Okay. All right, now let's get to this, because what's intriguing to me, on one hand, I really do want to be excited about the concept of the NWA creating a women's TV champion. But that is, of course, against the backdrop of the owner of this company going in onto multiple publications saying, hey, the whole reason why we don't have an Empower 2 is because there aren't enough women who have the ability to wrestle the NWA TV style. So you mean to tell me that silently in the last 4 months, you went and managed to scrape up the bottom of the barrel and find enough women to not just fight your women's champion or fill a pay-per-view, but now you're going to create, get this, a TV title around women that you said there weren't enough of to build a division around. Are you kidding me, Billy Corgan?
I wanted to ignore that because we got to take
but here's why I'm not ignoring it, because it is blatant. No, it's blatant. And here's the thing. If you're going to do it, come back and be a man and make a statement and say, you know what? We didn't have what it took for Empowered, but we've scoured the globe and we searched and we realized we were wrong. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to, instead of doing a pay-per-view, we're going to create a whole TV women's championship. We've got 8 amazing women that we've scoured the globe to find who are going to be great contenders. Like,
also, this is just us speculating on the number. The number was not specified, but I would think it would be around 8.
We threw around 8. We could mess around and find out that it's exactly 4. I just don't have the kinds of hopes. And then I sit back and go, so if you're going to create a second championship for a division that doesn't have enough people for a pay-per-view by your own account. What are we doing here? So I don't know what the impetus for this is. And I think, honestly, it's extremely daring that you're going to do this in, of all cities, Chicago. There are probably
Daring.
2 cities in the entire United States that you really want to be super strong if you're going to go into, because they're going to boo you out of the building if it's not right. One of them is Chicago. The other is New York. If you can do right in those 2 cities, you'll be all right, as we found out Monday night on Raw. We'll probably get to that. But the truth of it is, this is preposterous. And so I want to be happy, but I can't even be happy if you haven't even told me who's in the tournament right now. Who in the world? And I say this, if you want to make me believe and you're putting these 2 strong women in your first round, then there better be some other amazing strong women in this, so that we're not seeing, one of these 2 amazing women against, someone who couldn't wrestle the NWA style, of course.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. So no, I'd really like to be super excited about it. And Sammy, you know what? No, I'm not gonna say that. I stopped myself. Say that. I had to. I put on the brakes.
Not there to call
fast.
Corporate anymore, so Gerard is.
No,
No, you made such good points.
Just roll out.
This is what I was saying, Joseph. You have Taya and Genocide in a qualifying matchup when those 2 should be in the tournament to begin with. If they're gonna meet,
give them a bye.
In the tournament. Like,
they're qualified. What are we doing?
You have Taya Valkyrie and Genocide in a qualifying matchup, which means only one of them is going to be in the tournament. When those 2, Genocide's been there for 2 years, over 2 years. She's been to the top. She's gone against Camille. Like I said, I had high hopes for Genocide. She's still one of the standards that's been there consistently. She's facing Taya Valkyrie, who's already gone and had high profile stuff against Camille. I'm very scared for these brackets as well. But I know PR, we have to get you out of here. So we'll continue this debate in a second, guys. But PR, before we have to let you go, let the people know where they can find you.
First off, thank you for having me again. I love being on this show. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Queen3_PR. And of course, follow Those Wrestling Girls everywhere. And I will be going live on Those Wrestling Girls Twitch at 7 with the crew for TWG Fan Club, our weekly fan club where we just go through all sorts of wrestling stuff, similar to Women's Wrestling Talk. So thank you guys for having me. And I will definitely be seeing you guys soon. I'm out.
Maybe they'll be discussing the NWA debate. Who knows? You'll have to find out on Those Wrestling Girls at 7 p.m. Eastern. But PR, thank you for being here today. We'll see you again soon. Have a good show.
Love you. Good to see you.
But yes, before some of these comments, hold on. Okay. Also, hello, Chad. Thank you for being here. I'm so sorry that this was in the middle of this. I have my thoughts.
It's that kind of thing, right? Like I want to be happy for it, but see, so for instance, like,
and Cole, we've been got this.
Wow, we've been very vocal about what Tony Khan did with Ring of Honor, and so for Tony Khan to come back and then say, "Hey, listen, we finally did it," and have a whole explanation of it, we can be excited about that, right? I want to be excited, but I can't be excited until I understand who's involved. And I'm really very curious, again, because it wasn't just one interview that Billy Corgan did. He did multiple interviews stating this point that there aren't enough women out there who can wrestle the NWA style. So I would like to know, what is the process, sir, that you went through to find these women who we weren't even talking about an additional title at that point.
No.
We were talking about having enough women for a single event. Now we have enough women to have an additional championship. Yeah. Get me excited by showing me the list, and then we can have the conversation. But
So if we're simply stating like singles competitors, right? We're excluding like the Pretty Empowered and like the Renegade Twins per se. You know, Allison Kay has been obviously dabbling into more single stuff lately. You have Angelina Love, Taya Valkyrie, Genocide, Samantha Starr, La Rosa Negra, Missa Kate, Maddie Rinkowski's been there a lot.
you mentioned
Tootie,
Kylan King,
Kylan King, Tootie Lynn. So that's 10 right there.
right?
You know, they've been bringing in like some recurring characters too as well. Taryn Terrell has retired. Like I said, there was a lot of blows last year. You know,
There were.
I will say they did bring in some good people. You know, they brought in Kylan King and Taya Valkyrie. Those were great additions. Angelina Love is a trusted veteran. She's signed to them. I mean, that's 10 right there. You know, they're going to have to bring in a few more, obviously, to that's assuming that this is maybe an 8 woman. It might just be a 4. To be fair, though, if it's just 4, but yet you have qualifying matchups, why not just make it 8 to begin with?
Who knows? I would love to understand.
I can't believe that it's going to be Genocide or Taya Valkyrie.
Just to get in, not to advance, just to get in.
Not this, Nikki. Miranda Alizé would be cool.
Well, and then there are so many other names of so many other incredible people. Like I'm excited
Jasmine
that they brought
Allure,
in.
I believe, was on NWA recently. Ashley Dom was on NWA recently. Not that I'm thinking about it, but I know Jasmine is signed to WoW, so I don't know how the scheduling works with that. Just thinking off the top of my head.
And the other question is, how many are they able to get to regularly commit to the NWA, which is a completely different story. You know what I mean? So show me the money. That's where I'm at. Show me the money. And I'll be good.
Is Taya main event or not? She's main evented against Camille. It's just, you know, it just depends who's in this tournament. I think it's a good opportunity if they're going to obviously not take the title off of Camille. It gives their mid-card, upper mid-card more opportunity and not just have it be a squash, an expected squash to Camille. But at the same time, though, whoever is not in this tournament, who's going to go against Camille? Who are they going to build as the next person who could even potentially beat Camille? You know, Camille's already beat Taya. She's beat Kylan. She's beat Angelina Love. She's beaten Genocide.
Max the Impaler, like all of these people.
I don't, and obviously Alice, again, I don't know Allison's situation, but she would have to be in this, you know, considering she cut that promo last summer when Medusa was introducing it. But we'll have more information going on. Again, the first qualifying matchup isn't until this Saturday. We'll know more next week. I'll fill in Gerard as it happens. we don't know. These are just speculations at this point, but there is going to be a tournament. And the winner will be crowned the first women's television champion for the NWA. So we'll see. But you know, there's 2 other women's stories that we got here tonight. You take your pick at which one you want.
And neither of these are speculation. We can start with last night at NXT. Again, what the NXT women's division has continued to do has been amazing. Regularly featured. This was the closing shot of NXT last night. The NXT women's champion Roxanne Perez was involved in a winning effort in a tag team match with Meiko Satomura, and they defeated the former NXT women's tag champions Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. And then afterwards, Meiko Satomura said, "Hey, I did you a favor. Now it's time to do me a favor," insinuating that she wants a shot at the NXT Women's Championship. And of course, Roxanne agreed. We'll have to find out when that is. I'm imagining it's going to be at NXT Roadblock, which is in a couple of weeks. And last year's Roadblock really threw a wrench in NXT's plans for Stand and Deliver. So this will be very, very interesting to see how this goes down. I am excited. I think this is going to be a great match. These two wrestled before, and when they did, Meiko got the victory. But of course, at that point, Roxanne wasn't the champion yet. So this will be very, very interesting to see what happens between these two. And again, this isn't conjecture. This is actually happening, folks.
So yeah, it's happening March 7th. You know, it is a Tuesday. It's kind of just a special edition of NXT. It's like kind of like a pay-per-view.
It is, yeah.
But it's obviously it's taking place on Tuesday, because if it take place that weekend, it would have been counter to Revolution. Not that we haven't seen that before in AEW and WWE pay-per-view on this NXT. I believe Clash at the Castle was on the same day as All Out.
Yes.
But obviously, yeah, this is taking place March 7th. You know, I think we were talking about 2 weeks ago, obviously the NXT UK women. I'm excited for this. Will Meiko finally pass the torch? See, I don't know. You know, technically, Meiko never got a rematch when she lost her NXT UK Women's Championship. When they didn't really get unified. The NXT UK Championship just kind of went away after that. So this is kind of, I guess, in a way, her rematch for it. It's not against Mandy Rose, but it's against the woman who beat Mandy Rose. I don't know if this is long-term for Meiko, because her stints in NXT UK have never been long-term. You know, we were talking about how almost all of the NXT UK women who weren't released, you know, Stevie Turner, Valkyra is there, Isla Dawn. The only one left is Aaliyah James, who hadn't been released and is still waiting to go to NXT US side. So I just hope that this isn't just a one-off. I mean, Meiko Satomura brings the veteran experience to NXT, even though Roxanne herself is kind of a veteran compared to a lot of the girls there too, even though she's only 21. But again, this is a really generational match. I hope that we get more than, you know, it's never long term for Meiko. It's never like more than a few matches if we're lucky. I hope that we get to see Meiko stick around for a bit.
Well, I definitely enjoyed her reign as UK champion.
Yes.
That was really, really good. And I want to just remind people, don't throw Roadblock away.
No.
Because remember, it was last year at Roadblock where Braun Breaker lost the NXT championship
to Dolph
Ziggler, and then turned around and did not win the rematch at Stand and Deliver. Only then to win it the night on after WrestleMania on Raw, which was weird. But with all of that said, we could see a title change here. And quite frankly, is there anybody on the women's roster of NXT more deserving of going into WrestleMania weekend with a championship than Meiko Satomura? I think it would be amazing to have happen, but we'll see. Again, it should be pretty amazing. That's going to be a great, great match happening in just a couple of weeks on NXT Roadblock.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
Yes.
Do you strap the title on Meiko? I feel like Roxanne's story is just too good to come to an end. So didn't Meiko beat her the first time too?
She did.
Yeah, I feel like this would be a way to, I mean, I don't want to say pass the torch, but I think it depends if Meiko's going to be sticking around or not. If she is, then I think Meiko would have to win. But if she's not, then it would be a way to pass the torch. I think it just depends on her contract. I don't know the standards.
And if there is a torch to be passed, is it better to happen at Roadblock or Stand and Deliver?
How do you work? I mean, the only way to really have a rematch, I mean, unless
is for
somebody
Meiko to win,
or somebody comes and interferes from the outside, like Cora Jade, or somebody who's been jealous and trying to ruin Roxanne's life. That might be a way to stall it until Stand and Deliver. Those are really the only two scenarios where you have a follow-up matchup between. You know, it's possible. She was already on SmackDown, so that's my girl Roxanne. And that would, I guess, make it, I guess it wouldn't be best of three. I feel like the only way, obviously, to get to Stand and Deliver is if, obviously, Meiko wins or somebody who's been jealous or had it out for Roxanne comes and interrupts this match.
Right.
We'll see, though.
Right.
We will
definitely see. On the other women's side of things, on Monday Night Raw, this was a shocker, I got to tell you, because I did not expect, for one, Becky and Bayley to be interested in hopping into the chamber match, and then it turning into a triple threat match where if either of them defeated Bianca Belair on Monday, they'd be added to the chamber. The whole night, I'm thinking, how are they going to add a seventh chamber into that
You just start
structure?
off with three then.
Yeah, like I was wondering how,
Yeah.
but I just figured it was going to happen given
Mhm.
the, nature of Bailey being Bailey and Becky being Becky.
Yeah.
But Bianca was Bianca. And because of that, Bianca gets the win. Neither of them are going to the chamber. Neither of them have a clear path, or so it seems, to WrestleMania. And the plot thickens on the road to WrestleMania.
Now, a lot of this, though, had to do reportedly because Dakota Kai's injury, isn't just on screen. There is a bit of legitimacy to it. Whereas reportedly the plan was for Trish Stratus to return in New York, in Brooklyn, to kind of egg on that 3-on-3 scenario that I believe we were talking about last week after
Right.
Lita came back to kind of set up and even the odds. But obviously, there seems to be some legitimacy to Dakota Kai's injury, so there was no any potential lead up to Chamber or even Mania. Now, that's not to say that that's not possible, that it won't happen. It's just Dakota Kai needs to heal, and obviously, I feel like, I don't know. I don't want Becky Lynch to kind of, granted, last year was very obvious who Seth Rollins was going to end up facing into WrestleMania, but it's weird not to have a plot for Becky Lynch right now. It could change. Obviously, I don't foresee her being done with Bailey right now. I think this is just going to turn into a waiting game of Dakota Kai to heal again. I don't know the extent of her injury. I don't know if it's her knee or her ankle. It seems to be a minor injury. So I think a lot of it depends on Dakota's healing. And then if Dakota's cleared to go, then maybe that's where we bring on Trish for a 3v3. And that solves that issue right there. But right now, obviously, this just isn't the case right now, at least from what it appears to be, because Coda is not clear.
Right.
So I feel like they're going to take step by step, week by week. Crazy. What do they do if Dakota Kai isn't cleared? What do they do?
Yeah, they'll have to figure something out, but they've got time. They still have about 6 weeks. So
after Chamber, they have about 6 weeks.
Right.
So I don't know. But what I do know, we're going to, we had a couple other stories, but I know we got some.
It's wrestling facts. Yeah.
So I figured we will close with some vintage wrestling facts.
Yeah. So we have to start with this one, and this one is really special. And I think it's special because this was an iconic moment that most people may or may not remember how or when it happened. And for those who may have lived through that time, it may have been a space where, well, let me just explain the story.
Not you,
Here's the deal.
Who have lived through that time. Can I just womp myself?
No, wait. Wait. So here's where I'm going. Where I'm going is there was a time in the 80s where the NWA championship had a specific look. It kind of looked like the NWA belt that we're seeing paraded around now. But believe it or not, it was this day in 1986 at, oddly enough, an event called Battle of the Belts, which sounds like something I've heard AEW do. Yeah, 1986, NWA had Battle of the Belts, and on this event, the Nature Boy Ric Flair unveils their new world championship, which is the iconic big gold belt that really became the standard when it came to the NWA championship. That belt ended up having a pretty unique lineage. It would be the NWA title for a while. Then it would come back, when Ric Flair was released from the NWA, he brought that belt with him over to the WWE back in 1990, 1991. Then when he went back, matter of fact, they were able to get the belt back. And when the NWA got the belt back, at that point, they were WCW. Then they started calling it the WCW International Championship because they already had a WCW World title. Then, of course, that belt would make its way back to WWE and become the World Heavyweight Championship when it was awarded to Triple H. Very unique lineage that has had. But that belt is absolutely iconic, and it was debuted in 1986. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I know Nikki will probably already know this, but that was debuted 2 months before Charlotte Flair was born. Her father presented this championship because she was born in April of 86.
Well, there we go. How's that for a vintage wrestling fact? So,
We should do sometimes like on this day of a wrestler's birthday, to be honest.
You know what?
whenever it
We
falls.
actually should and could do that. And if we were to do that, there is a birthday we're celebrating today.
It's
Is the
true.
birthday of former Impact World Champion Rich Swann, who was born this day in 1991.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let that sit. All right, so let's move forward because this day in 1989, this was rare in 1989. It happens a lot now, but in 1989, there was a rare champion versus champion match between two icons, the WWF World Champion Randy Savage and the then Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior. This match ended in a countout with Savage winning the match, but it happened in a real dark match during the Superstars of Wrestling taping in the WWE in a little town called Binghamton, New York, which is right outside of Syracuse.
Yeah. About 3.5 hours from me. I've been down there.
There you go. I've been very familiar with Binghamton, New York. Now, of course, it would be 2 years later at WrestleMania 7 when both Savage and Warrior would be involved in what was then Macho Man's iconic retirement match, where the Warrior would defeat Savage. And then, of course, we got the reunion of Miss Elizabeth and the Macho Man. Pretty cool stuff. Let's then move to 1998, because this is interesting. And I don't know how well this aged, but the WWE champion at that time was Shawn Michaels. He was scheduled to be in a pay-per-view called In Your House, No Way Out of Texas, but he was injured. And so in an 8-man tag team match that he was involved in, he was supposed to be teaming with Triple H, Billy Gunn, and the Road Dogg. That's kind of DX-ish, right?
Yeah.
He's injured, and he gets replaced in the main event. Get this. Are you ready? Savio Vega. Yeah. That didn't age very well.
No.
Anyway, that he replaced Shawn Michaels in 1998 in the main event, which is just kind of crazy. Ironically, that team lost. And they lost to the team.
So this is right before Michaels was dealing with an injury at this point.
Correct. He was dealing with that back injury.
Leading into Mania. Yeah.
That's right. And 2 months later, that Mania would be his last match in 5 years.
Huh.
So crazy how that happens. The same day, unfortunately, in 1998, we lost Louis Spicolli, who was found dead in his home in LA. He was only 27 years old. It's crazy the amount of people who are mainstream stars who died at the age
27.
of 27. Let's skip to 1999, a significant day. And I think Stephanie Hardy might like this one because The Rock regained the WWE Championship from Mankind in a ladder match on Monday Night Raw in the bustling city of Birmingham, Alabama. She loves all things Alabama, so I think she would certainly appreciate that. He got a little bit of help from the man who would go on to be known as the Big Show. That would be Paul White, who had just debuted in WWE like a couple of weeks before at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre pay-per-view. And that would lead us to WrestleMania 15, where we would see The Rock versus Stone Cold for the WWE Championship. All right, a couple more things before we get out of here. This was a really big night in wrestling in 2004. I'm going to start in Tokyo, where Hiroshi Tenzan defeated Tenryu to win the vacant IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Now, this was a one-night tournament because 10 days before this, Shinsuke Nakamura was the IWGP World Champion, and he was forced to relinquish the title because of injury. So that's pretty interesting for those who didn't know that Shinsuke was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Now, here in the States on that same day, a certain Eddie Guerrero on this day defeated Brock Lesnar at the No Way Out pay-per-view to become the WWE Champion. As we were talking about pay-per-views that really matter right before WrestleMania, this was on nobody's bingo card. They thought Brock Lesnar was just going to sashay into WrestleMania with no problem and perhaps even defend against Goldberg. Not the case. Guerrero takes the title thanks to a spear from Goldberg on Brock Lesnar, setting up what I believe the single worst match in WrestleMania history. Goldberg Lesnar won in 2004. I'm sure you all remember that. Now, I think the last thing up for us, no, it's two things left. All right. So 2009 on this day was an
On
Elimination
this
Chamber
day,
pay-per-view.
I see clearly.
Well said, because that guy, Edge, walked in to the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view as the WWE champion. He would get pinned in the first Elimination Chamber match with the title on the line, losing the title, and winning that match would be Triple H. So Triple H becomes a WWE champion. The night would end with an Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship. A certain
Hold on.
Kofi.
Hold on. Yes, yes, I was Miss TK. This is about 6 months before I found professional wrestling, though. Just for reference, this is the year I found it, but 6 months before it. Just to clear things up. That was not me, by the way.
That is too funny. I love the blind producer behind this. It's great. It's
Cheers
great.
for me being alive in 2009. I would hope
Exactly.
so.
Well, hey, that's funny. JD said 6 months prior, she blew out her second candle. Hilarious. So this picture you see of Edge walking out of the Elimination Chamber is not with the WWE Championship. Instead, it's with the World Heavyweight Championship. And here's why. Because the man who was supposed to be in that match got knocked out of that match by Edge. That man would be Kofi Kingston, and it would take Kofi Kingston another 10 years before he would get a shot at a world championship. That's how things went down. But yeah, Edge, being the ultimate opportunist, loses the WWE Championship, wins the World Heavyweight Championship, which was the big gold belt, by the way, in the same night.
Good times.
Pretty amazing. And I think we'll wrap it up right here. And this is a really good one. Just 2 years ago, 2021, our favorite celebrity entrant into all things WWE, Bad Bunny, becomes a champion as he defeats Akira Tozawa to become the 24/7 champion. And if I get my facts straight, that makes him the first Grammy Award winning artist to be a champion in WWE.
Yeah.
I think I'm right.
Yeah.
So shout out to Bad Bunny, who of course is now in WWE 2K23. And who knows, he might show up at WrestleMania with all of his Grammys and all of the other cool things that he has.
I hope so.
That is your look at vintage wrestling facts.
Vintage wrestling facts. Yeah.
I hope he does show up, but obviously our celebrity WrestleMania guy looks to be Logan Paul. So yes, Chad, thank you for being here. Yes, that about wraps things up. I know we're going to get some shenanigans in about a minute here, but before we get out of here, Mr. Professor, please share where the people can find you.
Absolutely. You guys can reach me at Bonnerfied on all of the platforms. And from there, Southern Honor Wrestling, you can check out on IWTV. Battle Slam, you can check out on Fight TV. Championship District Wrestling on YouTube. And then all things Nightmare Factory, including Student Showcase 8, which you'll check me out on commentary for. That's on YouTube as well. And you can check out the merch at ProWrestlingTees.com. And of course, I'll be back here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for WWT Live.
That's right. And of course, before we get out of here, I'm unsure if I'm going to get another surprise heading out of here, but you can follow me on
It's Ella, J. It's Ella, J. Ella, J. It's Ella J.
Yeah. I set myself up for that one.
You walked right into that.
I was expecting it though this time at least.
Fair enough.
But yeah, the easiest way to find me is where I'm most active, which is Twitter. If Twitter wants to decide to sort itself out, unfortunately. Today there's been issues again. But anyways, if you go to the link in my bio, you can find all my links to all my podcasts, including Women's Wrestling Talk, all my writing, all of that fun stuff at It's Ella J, where it says it right here. I don't know if the song's going to play again, but again, thank you for everybody for tuning in today. The show is going to get canceled. Listen, no, it is certainly not my voicemail message. I don't know how to set up a voicemail message, guys. Mine is just the plain one that comes with it. Yes. Dynamite's gonna be fun, of course. We do have our normal Dynamite after show tonight, I believe. Normally, we'll be back on Friday for Women's Wrestling Talk Live again. Thank you for joining us. This has been the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet, TK Trinidad. You know, I need to be sent the video. I know that was the raw edits, but we need to have some developments in there. I need the deluxe edition soon. I know Kane is kind of away, so once he comes back, we'll get it. We'll get it in order. But we'll see you guys Friday. This has been the Wednesday edition of WWT Live, Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. See you Friday.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.